Welcome back to Turning Point tonight. My name is Chris Hand. Joe Bob is out doing exactly what Charlie Kirk would want him to do, growing that family. Yep, Joe Bob and his beautiful wife have welcomed a baby boy into the world. Please join me in praying for that family and praying for that healthy baby boy. In the meantime, I'm really excited to be with you tonight. I host a conservative radio show in Nashville Monday through Friday in case you ever want to tune in on 99.7 WTN. But we got a lot to talk about this evening. And I'm telling you, if Charlie was still with us, he would have loved what he saw from Donald Trump at the UN General Assembly just a couple days ago. Just listen to the rundown, okay? He called for protections for Christians, the most persecuted religion in the world. Awesome. He eviscerated the UN for funding mass migration into the U.S. and Western countries. He said Europe needs to stop adopting Sharia law. He harshly criticized globalism. He slammed the UN for their climate alarmism. He promoted fossil fuels. He scorched countries for funding Russia's war against Ukraine because they're buying their oil. He urged countries to stop falling for the Green New scam. He said the UN doesn't back up its word with any meaningful action on any issues or matter. He preached American exceptionalism, and he demanded the end to biological weapons, which are real, by the way. Bioweapons and bioterrorism is one of the scariest things that we face, and we all should be paying more attention to that. And for Donald Trump to say that at the UN was a huge moment, but it was moment after moment after moment with Donald Trump at the UN. I think Charlie would have been proud at any one of those things, but he touched on all of them. And he touched on all of them, I believe, because they turned off his teleprompter. Yes, they turned off his teleprompter. Not just that, but they also stopped the escalator when POTUS and FLOTUS were getting on. If you can, let's show the escalator clip. This is cut one. This is Trump and Melania jumping on the escalator at the UN.
You're going to push Zelensky for peace, President Trump.
So they're walking over. Everything's good. It's moving, and oh, weird.
President Trump, Schumer.
Weird. Now, listen, what they're going to tell you is that's a happy little accident. That's just a sweet little coincidence. It's not, actually. That was intentional. And we saw it in the reporting from the Times on Sunday. They reported on Sunday, mind you, to mark Trump's arrival, UN staff members have joked that they may turn off the escalators and simply tell him they ran out of money, so he has to walk up the stairs. What good is the UN for? Honestly. Now, there's actually some serious concerns about that, especially given the light of what we've seen with Charlie Kirk. Susan Crabtree is an awesome reporter. She works with Real Clear Politics. I've had her on my radio show quite a few times. Really nice lady. But she's got some great Secret Service sources. And she posted this tweet. Why did Secret Service allow President Trump and Melania to get stalled on an escalator today at the UN General Assembly before his speech without moving quickly to protect the leader of the free world and his wife? The stalled escalator with President Trump and First Lady Melania stuck on it was a classic setup for an assassination. Yet the Secret Service barely noticed and didn't pull POTUS or FLOTUS off the suddenly stopped stairs, Secret Service sources warn. So while Trump and his Justice Department and AG Bondi and the Secret Service celebrate Ryan Ruth's conviction, which is good, the president's security team with its zero-fail mission needs to be ever vigilant. Today could have been a horrible split screen. She's absolutely right. And we've seen a lot from the Secret Service that gives you pause. I mean, not going back to July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania, but even more recently than that, we had Secret Service agents celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination on Facebook. What? Like, this is the guy that's supposed to be protecting the president, protecting the first lady, protecting Barron, protecting everybody. They're going to celebrate Charlie's assassination. There's some serious issues at Secret Service that need to be addressed, and I pray that they get addressed soon before we find ourselves in another situation where we're having to go to a memorial service. Honestly, that's not hyperbole. I'm being serious. We need to pay attention. We need to be vigilant, and somebody over at Secret Service needs to get their act together. I almost said a curse word. I said Charlie's been proud about a lot of things. He wouldn't have been too pleased about that. So this is where we're at, right? So they shut off the escalator on him. Awesome. Really great, guys. Appreciate it. They also cut off his teleprompter. This is cut two. Donald Trump, he goes up to start giving his speech, and then the teleprompter starts working.
Very much appreciated. and I don't mind making the speech without a teleprompter because the teleprompter is not working.
Listen,
I feel very
he
happy
jokes
to
his
be
way
up here
through
with
it.
you, nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
Again, he jokes his way through it. But you have to look at this situation a little bit more seriously. And I love the president's good nature. I love that he's not getting irritated and angry on the world stage. But this is sabotage. And if you got people willing to do this with what we've seen happen in recent weeks, what else are they going to be willing to do? We have to stay vigilant. Now, he kept going, and he spoke from the heart. He had a speech in front of him, but listen, if you were hoping for a quick Donald Trump speech, you were in for a rude awakening because now the prompters were off and Donald Trump was just set loose. That's my favorite kind of Donald Trump, full disclosure. But over on MSNBC, we had former Biden State Department spokesman Ned Price. He used to tout how great Joe Biden is. They all did. He was sharp as a tack, running circles around everyone. Ned Price gets on and echoed the same language on MSNBC that we saw in that Times report that they were going to sabotage him and then blame it on the money. He literally went on MSNBC and blamed it on the money. This is cut 4.
On that escalator, and the escalator stopped. Well, I imagine one of the reasons that escalator stopped is because his administration has withheld hundreds of millions of dollars in funding over his first term in office and during the first 8 months or so of his current term to the UN. And the UN itself is falling apart.
If the UN doesn't have enough money to pay for escalators, they have far bigger problems than the United States funding. Let's be perfectly honest. And while they blame they'll blame Donald Trump cutting funding, they never say, gee whiz, I wish England would cough up more money so we'd have working escalators. I wish Canada would kick more into the can so that way we'd have working escalators. What about Russia or China? No, it's only us. We got to be the bag man for the UN. Just another reason why we need to leave the United Nations. Kick them out. Why are we doing this? If they can't survive on their own, well, let them go the way of the dinosaur. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe you share that opinion as well. Caroline Leavitt wasn't happy about any of this. She was actually downright pissed. And she was on Jesse Waters last night. And she said, we're going to have a full investigation into all of this because what we saw wasn't just a happy little accident or a coincidence. It was sabotage, and there will be investigations. Cut 5.
All right, Caroline, it does appear to be sabotage with the escalator and the teleprompter. What is the White House going to do about that?
Well, Jesse, that's definitely what it appears to be to me, and that's why I put out a statement earlier. There was some concerning reporting over the weekend from the London Times, as you pointed out, that UN globalist staffers were basically plotting to set up the president of the United States. And first it was the escalator, then it was the teleprompter, and then Katie Pavlich from Town Hall, who we offered a seat in the press pool to cover the president's historic speech today, noticed that the audio inside of the room was much lower and different for the president of the United States than the previous speaker. So when you put all of this together, it doesn't look like a coincidence to me. And I know that we have people, including the United States Secret Service, who are looking into this to try to get to the bottom of it. And if we find that these were UN staffers who were purposefully trying to literally trip up the president and the first lady of the United States, well, there better be accountability for those people. And I will personally see to it, Jesse.
Good.
Yeah, good. We hope that there is accountability. Of course, when there is accountability for staffers that shut off the escalator, lowered his microphone, cut his teleprompter, well, the left-wing media will say, it's a fascist takeover. This is tyranny. How can this happen? Get ready for that. Donald Trump took it all in stride, though. He took it all in jest, and he actually roasted them at the exact same time. Glenn, if you would, load up cut 3. President Trump laughing about it, saying, all I get from the UN is a broken escalator and broken teleprompters.
I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter.
That's the only thing the United Nations have ever given us. That's it. I mean, name another thing that the United Nations has provided to America besides a broken escalator and a bad teleprompter. You can't. I'll wait. On the way, we're going to get into some of what Donald Trump spoke about at the UN General Assembly. Again, my name is Chris Hand. I'm filling in for Joe Bob. Joe Bob welcomed a beautiful baby boy along with his wife today into the world, and we just congratulate them. We're praying for them. In the meantime, you can always send your emails to tpt@tpusa.com. We look forward to reading your emails. If you'd rather insult me a little bit more personally, you can always find me on X at Chris Hand on Air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. And when we return, we'll get more into this speech from Donald Trump at the UN General Assembly right here on Turning Point tonight.